In the mist-covered cliffs of Cornwall, where the waves crash violently against jagged rocks, lies an ancient ruin that holds a powerful secret. Tintagel Castle, perched on the edge of the English coastline, has long been associated with one of the most iconic legends in Western history, the legend of King Arthur. But is this crumbling fortress truly the birthplace of the legendary king? Or is it merely a place where myth and history have become intertwined over the centuries? The story of Tintagel Castle is one of mystery, ambition, and a search for identity. It's about a place that carries the weight of legend on its ancient stones, and the people, both real and fictional, who have shaped its story. This journey takes us through the castle's history, the fascinating legend surrounding it, and the lessons it offers about resilience, leadership, and the enduring power of stories. As we walk through its ancient ruins, we dive deep into the myths and uncover the historical truths behind this iconic site. But first, we must confront an unsettling part of this story. What if everything we think we know about Tintagel Castle is wrong? What if the connection to King Arthur is nothing more than a myth? This possibility challenges not only our understanding of history, but also our belief in the power of stories to shape who we are. In a world where fact and fiction often blur, Tintagel serves as a reminder of how legends can influence not just the past, but also our present and future. Tintagel Castle draws us in because it represents something larger than life. The rugged cliffs and the powerful Atlantic Ocean surrounding the castle make it seem untouchable, almost otherworldly. When we stand on the castle ruins today, it feels as though we're transported back in time to a world of knights, kings, and ancient kingdoms. We can almost feel the weight of history pressing down on us as we imagine the lives that were lived here, the stories that unfolded, and the secrets that still linger. But the story of Tintagel Castle begins long before the legend of King Arthur took shape. Archaeological evidence shows that the site was inhabited as early as the Roman period, around the 3rd century AD. It was a place of trade, where goods from as far away as the Mediterranean arrived, making it an important hub in ancient Britain. In those early days, Tintagel was more than just a settlement. It was a crossroads of cultures, where people from different parts of the world came together. In the 5th and 6th centuries, the time traditionally associated with King Arthur, Tintagel was a significant settlement. It's believed to have been a stronghold of a powerful ruler in the region, perhaps even a king. This period, known as the Dark Ages, is when the Arthurian legend is said to have taken place. However, there is no solid evidence that King Arthur himself was born or lived at Tintagel. The connection between Arthur and Tintagel only emerged much later, in the 12th century, through the writings of Geoffrey of Monmouth. Geoffrey's History of the Kings of Britain is the first text to link Arthur's birth with Tintagel Castle. According to Geoffrey, Arthur was conceived at Tintagel through a magical deception by the wizard Merlin. The story goes that Merlin helped King Uther Pendragon trick Queen Igraine into thinking he was her husband, leading to Arthur's birth. This tale of magic, deception and destiny captured the imagination of generations and cemented Tintagel's place in the Arthurian legend. But here's where we need to pause and ask ourselves, is there any truth to this story? Or is it simply a medieval invention designed to enhance the mystique of a king who may never have existed? It's easy to get swept up in the romance of the legend, but history often tells a different story, one that is grounded in fact, not fantasy. As we sift through the layers of myth and legend, we find that the real story of Tintagel is just as fascinating as the legends. The castle we see today was built much later, in the 13th century by Richard, Earl of Cornwall, the brother of King Henry III. Richard was a man obsessed with King Arthur's legend, and it's possible that he built the castle at Tintagel to strengthen the connection between the site and the Arthurian myth. In doing so, he blurred the line between history and legend, ensuring that future generations would associate Tintagel with the legendary king. But why would Richard do this? Why would a powerful nobleman in the 1200s be so interested in a legend from 700 years earlier? The answer lies in the power of stories. Richard, like many of his contemporaries, saw the Arthurian legend as a symbol of ideal kingship, a strong ruler, just, and destined to lead his people to greatness. By associating himself with Arthur, Richard hoped to tap into that legacy and elevate his status. In a time when power was often uncertain, the legend of a perfect king offered a leadership model that people could look to in times of turmoil. Richard's castle at Tintagel wasn't built as a defensive fortress. Its design is more ceremonial than practical, suggesting that it was meant to be a symbol rather than a stronghold. And that's what makes Tintagel so interesting. It's a place where history and myth meet, where the power of a story can shape not just the past, but the present and the future as well. The legend of King Arthur has endured for centuries because it speaks to something universal within us. It's a story of heroism, of the eternal struggle between good and evil, and of the search for a perfect leader. Whether or not Arthur was a real historical figure, the legend has inspired countless generations to strive for greatness, seek out justice, and believe in the possibility of a better world. When we stand on the cliffs of Tintagel today, we feel the pull of that legend. The wind howls through the ruins, and we can almost hear the echoes of knights on horseback, the clashing of swords, and the whispers of Merlin's magic. It's as if the stones themselves hold the memory of those ancient stories, inviting us to believe in something larger than ourselves. But as much as we're drawn to the legend, we must also face the reality that history doesn't always provide the answers we want. There is no definitive proof that King Arthur was ever born at Tintagel, or that he even existed at all. And yet, the absence of evidence doesn't diminish the power of the story. It makes it even more compelling. We are left to wonder, to imagine, and to create our connections between the past and the present. The history of Tintagel Castle offers us valuable lessons about the nature of leadership, identity, and the stories we tell ourselves. In a world where facts and fiction often intertwine, Tintagel reminds us that what matters most isn't always what's true, but what we believe. The legend of King Arthur has persisted for centuries because it speaks to our deepest desires for a strong, just, and noble leader. It challenges us to consider what it means to be a good ruler, and by extension, what it means to lead our own lives with integrity, courage, and a sense of duty. Tintagel is also a testament to resilience. The castle has stood for centuries, weathering the storms of time and the forces of nature. Like the castle, we too must find ways to stand firm in the face of adversity. The waves that crash against Tintagel's cliffs are a reminder that life is full of challenges, but those who endure, those who hold fast to their principles, can withstand even the harshest storms. Finally, the story of Tintagel teaches us about the importance of self-control and fortitude. Just as King Arthur was a symbol of a ruler who balanced strength with wisdom, we too must find ways to balance our ambitions with restraint. We may not wield swords or wear crowns, but we face battles every day. Battles to stay true to our values, to resist temptation, and to lead lives that reflect the kind of people we aspire to be. As we journey through the history of Tintagel Castle, we are reminded that we are all part of a larger story, one that stretches across time and connects us to the people who came before us. Whether or not King Arthur was real, his legend has left an indelible mark on our collective imagination. In that sense, Tintagel Castle isn't just a relic of the past, it's a symbol of the ongoing human quest for meaning, purpose, and greatness. We stand together at the edge of history, looking out over the same cliffs that countless others have gazed upon before us. The stones of Tintagel whisper their stories to us, inviting us to reflect on our own lives and the legacies we will leave behind. The lessons of resilience, leadership, and self-control are as relevant today as they were in the time of Arthur, whether he was real or merely a legend. As we walk away from Tintagel, let us carry those lessons with us, striving to be the kind of people who, like the castle itself, can weather the storms of life with strength, wisdom, and grace. If you've been inspired by the story of Tintagel Castle and the timeless lessons of resilience, leadership, and self-control, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into the fascinating stories of history. Together, we can continue to explore the mysteries of the past and learn from the stories that shape the world.